So we're going to talk about people that are making changes in our community, that are driving things forward today. And then we're going to talk about what we have coming up this week, because we also have a huge keynote coming up on Wednesday.
Yeah, super exciting. So do you want to, well, where do you want to start? We're kind of all over the place at the moment.
I don't know.
It was the mic. It threw me off.
I know it did throw you off. All right, let's start with the roadmap to recovery with Andrew Carpenter. And I think we're going to end this episode with our 2 cents on where we see this going. I mean, we've been interviewing so many people. We've been talking about what's happening, where we're headed. And today, I think we may just unload a little personal opinion.
Well,
maybe
what we'll do at least is share with you what we've learned, especially in the last week or so. But Andrew Carpenter brought to us a breakdown of roadmap to recovery. It was the industry recovery plan for the UK construction sector from the Construction Leadership Council, again, a UK-based entity. And what was so neat about what Andrew had to say with us last week started with COVID, which so many stories do. Yep. But essentially what he said was the construction industry that we left in March was not the construction industry we wanted to come back to. So some people came together and really formulated a plan of how do we make that change? If we weren't super proud of what we were doing, what's the roadmap to get back to where we were? And maybe we throw up some of our banners. I think we have the banners loaded in, because what we talked about was a restart, a reset,
and a reinvent.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about restart, Jennifer, let's kind of break it down. What are we restarting? We're already building in the construction industry. What are we really restarting?
Well, I think in this case, post-COVID, we had to restart how we go back to work. You know, there was a moment in time in the UK where construction was not considered necessary. And that quickly did change, and they did bring back the construction industry. But for a minute, the whole business, everyone's business was paused, which they took the time to say, okay, how do we redo this? You know, we have a minute to think about it. What do we want to redo? What do we want to do? So their goal was to increase output, maximize employment, and minimize disruption. Minimize disruption is something we talk about all the time, because that is one of the many advantages that offsite construction offers.
It is. So how do we increase output? Do we increase output through manufacturing? Do we increase output by, as they would call, modern methods of construction? Do we increase output through technology? Or is it all the above? Right? Because that's everything everybody's talking about, right? How are we going to do it? I'd love to hear your comments and the answers out there, because everybody that's been your comments and the answers that I really just had, I'd like to put your answers in the comments. So with that said, and no, we haven't hit the wine yet. So, but with that said, you know, we're having a lot of conversations on this show, and we're going to get into the people that are making things happen, like Andrew Carpenter, who do we have coming up? Mark Farmer coming up, and so forth. But is it technology, Jen? Is it increased in being more superior in our manufacturing? Is it a combination of both, or is it getting more trades in the door and having more people to do this?
Yeah, so actually this takes us back to a conversation that we had with George Casey when we were breaking down the McKinsey report. And something that we were talking about at that time was, how do you get more projects to finished products? And so do we need to build better, or do we need to design better? You know, when you think about all the stakeholders in a project, from the designers to the builders to even to the occupants, but most importantly, the investors, what we're talking about overall is, how do we de-risk these investments? And even though Roadmap to Recovery didn't come out and say that, that's essentially what we're trying to do, is come up with a good plan so that you de-risk the investment, and so that, you know, you don't bump into those hiccups that you do on a traditional site-built location.
You're right. So so the restart, increase output, maximize employment, and minimize disruption. That was their goal in the first 0 to 3 months. You know, and when you really think about increasing the output in our country, how are we doing that? I mean, that's kind of the big question. And that's what I want to ask everybody out there. How are we doing that if we were to have a similar plan? Because they've already embraced more so than we have modern methods of construction, right? Mm-hmm. They've already embraced it. It's already part of what they have to do. And I know we have a video we're going to show on that as well later, right?
Yeah, we can pull that out.
Perfect. So with that said, and then it's reset, right? Drive demand, increase productivity, strengthen capabilities in the supply chain. That was 3 to 12 months. And right now they're in reinvent, transform the industry, deliver better value, collaboration, and partnership. That's the 12 to 24 months goal with reducing carbon emissions and improving the sustainability and resource efficiency. Yes?
Right. So take that back a step further, because what they were talking about is the supply chain and the other partners who are needed to achieve these goals, right? It's not just about the designers, the builders, it's about the supply chain. It's really about everybody coming together for that right. full solution. So that's what they're working on. And then I love the reinvent, transform the industry, deliver better value. And again, that's an example of how everybody wins right. when you do that, because, through the collaboration and through the partnership, everybody's looking at it from their angle, working together, trying to solve for that common problem.
Well, they are, right? So, but again, we always get into the overview on things like this. How do we find prime examples of people that are doing this, that are reinventing?
And that's part of why we're here today, because what we're doing is calling for the new entrants, because we've talked a lot about change and who really likes change. For so many people, change is a 4-letter word. So who are the new entrants who have already adopted this mentality? Right. So the title of the show, further adoption of offsite construction, it's a 2-part topic really. Is, are there people who are willing to change and incorporate offsite construction into their traditional on-site capabilities? We're not saying that it's a solution for every project, but are builders out there willing to consider it where it does make sense? And at the same time, who are the new people that are just coming in and doing this? I mean, you've had some great conversations with some of the new entrants. Sure. Think about all the 3D printing factories.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got Mighty Buildings, who's actually coming up on the show. Oh, no. Who's coming up on the show? Oh, surprise. I can't say it. Anyhow, yeah, but we did have Mighty Buildings on the show. We had Icon recently. We went out and interviewed them this past week. So we'll have some video on that coming out soon. But other people are changing. I see our buddy Joel Hutchins has joined us today. Mm-hmm. Here's somebody that's thinking differently, trying to single-handedly change how we do things. So again, I like, these are people that are doing it in a big way. And then we have other people that are taking, and we can't say names, but they're taking automation to a whole new level in their production facilities. And I think, there are people that are doing that. And if people out there that are doing it, we really want to start showcasing more of this. We really want to start showcasing people that are not just talking about it, but they're putting their time, effort, and money behind making it happen. Because that's what we want to put out there. That's what the world needs to hear.
Absolutely. So when we think about this roadmap to recovery, and we talk about the collaborations, and we talk about driving transformation within the industry, that's what we're looking to do, is showcase those winning case studies, those examples of how that's actually happening, and the new approach. One thing that, and this is the video clip, I don't have it pulled up, but maybe we can try and grab it from Andrew Carpenter, because the other thing that happened this week, which is so funny, we had the meme, I guess you could call it, of Integra taking the Jurassic Park movie, the characters from the Jurassic Park movie, and flipping the coin instead of and doing a play on dinosaurs. Who are the dinosaurs in the industry? It was so funny because that came on the heels of the conversation with Andrew Carpenter, who made a similar reference.
I'm looking. You got to keep talking while I'm working on this here.
Fill it in. The other benefits of all of this with the roadmap to recovery, while you're looking that up, here are the
times 3403.
Yeah, is the reducing carbon emissions, right, and improving sustainability and resource efficiency. That's a byproduct. It's with intention that we do that, but it's also a byproduct of good planning, because think about the waste reduction that happens when you put more into the planning. Again, this is something that Integra talks about all the time is, fewer dumpsters on site, less of that expensive lumber going into those dumpsters, and just being more mindful of your supplies.
Yep, I got it, Jen. Should you
All right,
want me to put it
yeah.
up, or we wasn't
Yeah.
listening to you? Not anything
I
new.
figured as much. But yeah, no, this is the reference from Andrew Carpenter and the Old Guard.
I think the beauty of the roadmap to recovery is it's not really a government document. It's an industry document.
Thank you.
So the industry hierarchy came together every day in the early weeks of COVID and came together with this roadmap. The minister was part of the group. So it wasn't dictated. This was created by the industry for the industry. And that's why I think it's been so well received. There are a few people who are pushing back against it, as you can imagine. Those in the traditional masonry builds, for example, who are seeing markets eroded by offsite construction, they're pushing back a little bit. But then you're always going to get dinosaurs, aren't you, in any industry?
Right? Dinosaurs. Who does he mean by dinosaurs?
I don't think he was referring to anybody that we know, but certainly there's, the people who just won't adopt, and that's okay. And that's why we need this call for new entrants, people who are coming into this out of the gate, and this is just the way that they do business, which to me is very exciting to see what's happening next.
Yeah. It's funny though. I'm not seeing a whole lot of the old guard adopt, quite honestly. There's a couple out there, but my opinion is that the old guard's going to get run over by the new. I think the new entrants are going to come into this and they're going to come fast and furious, just like when we were kids, right? I didn't listen to my dad. Did you listen to your dad and your mom? No. Right. And I think that's the same mentality, right? As we come into this, the mind's different. They don't understand the technology. They don't understand gaming and 3D and, all of these different things. And I think that it's really going to change the landscape. And I think a lot of people are going to be very surprised how quickly this comes upon us when it does.
Well, I think that also speaks to the culture of innovation, in terms of what are you looking for in your next employer or employment opportunity in the world of remote work. And when you think about, the next generation that's coming up, and you think about all of these recent grads or, even anybody into their mid-20s, early 30s, they just grew up differently. The digital world is at their fingertips. It's native to them. So they want to work somewhere where there is that culture of innovation, there is that access to that digitally built world. Some of the folks that we were speaking to last week over in Sweden were talking about Minecraft.
Oh yeah, implementing part right. I mean, it's the same thing. Why can't they, if they can build it in Minecraft, why can't we build it
in real life?
In real life. Yeah.
Right.
100%.
So what these folks are working on is essentially taking Minecraft to the real world, to a real world application, and thinking that way, and not necessarily through, AR or even AI. It was more just the concept of how can I create that digital twin on paper and then bring that to fruition.
Well, and that's it. But this is the thinking, right? This is a very young CEO. I mean, they're already building. You can do everything from their website all the way through production and delivery. And it gives you the total cost of the job to include the site work and labor, which is absolutely incredible. They figured it out from front end to the back end, all the way through to the client consumer experience. There is no waiting 24 hours for invoicing, nothing like that. Why can't you have instant invoicing, right? Some people would argue, well, I don't want to educate my competition. Or some people will argue, hey, speed is what's going to win people's hearts and minds over, and transparency. So, I mean, there'll be more to come on them on a later show as well. But there are people doing it, and they're treating their office like it's Google.
Exactly.
They play video games. They have foosball table. Why can't construction be fun? Why can't it be an environment where people are being creative and fun? And it's a great place to come and work. And they're also treating in the field like that. So just food for thought if you're out there listening.
Yeah, I mean, other industries are doing this all over the place. It's not just the tech industries, but the finance industry for sure has
FinTech,
also made it such a great culture to come and play because you're working hard, you're working long hours. Why does it have to be grueling at a terrible desk for the entire day? Like, create that community within your workspace, create that innovation type culture, and you'll be shocked at the results that you get.
Yeah, and this is true. I mean, if we look at Eric Holt's, their study with the housing endowment as well as the NAHB, a lot of this is all coming back to culture. Mm-hmm. It is a culture shift. We all know it's better. It's a smarter way of doing it. I might be biased. It is.
Well, this is the mindset shift that we're talking about as well. It
is, but it's a cultural shift. Like you said, it's hard to steer some of these big ships.
It absolutely is. And some people, I mean, they're not that nimble. So the nice thing about being small and when you're growing, number one, you have an aptitude for open source mentality where, there is this culture of sharing information and saying, hey, I'm bumping into this problem. How about you guys? Right. Or, hey, I found a solution. How can we bolt that onto the solution that you're offering and make it a more of an end-to-end solution? I mean, there's definitely people out there doing that. And that's what we need to do is make room and welcome them to our industry because they're not, you say they're going to overrun the old guard. Whether they do or they don't really doesn't matter. We just need them here. Yeah. There's room at the table. We have all this huge, massive shortage in housing. There's room at the table for better design, better construction.
She took my soapbox. You're absolutely right. We're all arguing, we're 4%, maybe 5% if you add everybody together in offsite. And the reality of it is nobody has the perfect sauce. If we did, we would not be 4 to 5% of the overall housing market, and we could contribute a lot more. So 100% agree with that. Why don't we say hello to a few people, Jennifer, because we have more to get through. We're already 25 minutes in. We are actually going to be talking about the future of home delivery coming up in next part of our conversation today. I can't get any words out of my mouth.
It is Monday.
It is Monday. All right, we got George Ryman. Hey, George, good morning from Surefoot Foundations, Phoenix, Arizona. Super cool, super cool. Hey, we may be on location, George. It's somebody that does something very similar to yours out in California here. So working through the details on that, I'll let you know when it comes up. We have Anthony. Boy, LinkedIn is glitchy for me today. Good to be here today. Yeah, LinkedIn is playing a lot of catch up, everybody, to YouTube and Facebook when it comes to their live streaming. But we're trying to do our best to work through it because it is the platform we have the most following on. All right, moving down the line. Hey, look at that. Art Smart. Art Smart. Art, he is smart. Art Schmann from overseas, right? Hey, Art, tell us a little bit about IWBC. It's going virtual this year. The International Wood-Based Construction Conference, I think, is virtual this year. So Art has been doing great things. He lives in Italy right now, which is super, super cool. I call him sometimes and I'm like, oh, I forgot the time difference, but he always takes my call. Thanks for tuning in, Art. All right, we have Anthony Goudet. Benson Wood is doing some great things, specifically Hans Porschitz.
So it's funny that you mentioned that, Anthony, because tomorrow on Building Modular, we'll be back at it. And what we're going to do on tomorrow's Building Modular is take the lessons that we've learned from Benson Wood. We had a great conversation with Jay Lepley and the team over there at Unity Homes, and have some great lessons from Deltec Homes and Harris Woodward from Finish Works. So absolutely, we're big fans of Benson Wood. Thanks for the shout out and tune in tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. Anthony's busy today. Here we go. We got another one. I agree. Access to talent will hinge on companies being both innovative, forward thinking.
100%. They have to have that vision on what tomorrow looks like. Yes, it's good enough for today, but what does the built environment look like for tomorrow?
For sure. For sure. All right, George Ryman writing books today, referencing previous pandemics, H1N1, bird flu, swine flu, etc., where the world economies did not shut down in an attempt to flatten the curve. Is this our new norm? ? Are we really going to react this way to every new potential pandemic moving forward? Flabbergasted.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, obviously, we don't have an answer for that. But what we are in full support of is people who took a moment during the shutdown to say, hey, is this really the world we want to go back to? Is this really the home that I want to live in?
Yeah.
Is my indoor air quality really as good as it should be now that our family, our children are spending every waking moment in our home? So whether or not we shut down again, that remains to be seen. But what's super exciting is the folks who took a moment during that time to really rethink what's important and how they're going to change their approach to solving problems.
Yeah, I agree. So George, my 2 cents on this is, I see this pandemic as a positive thing for offsite construction. Bad thing for health. Yes, I agree. But it has been a positive thing for people to stop and take a look, really spend more time trying to understand what they're doing and how they're doing it. And I hate to say it, even in the 08, after that 08 crash, it was good for offsite construction. So, with that said, I see, this pandemic as a way for us to have a voice like we have done with this live show. And also, I don't know if it flattens the curve, but I think it brings more awareness to the curve, in my opinion. And as long as we can keep moving one step forward, we're doing good. And I think something good always comes out of something negative. It always does.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I take that one step further. And it's kind of what Andrew was saying as well on the show is it's about value. It's not necessarily the cost of something or the price of something, especially in our industry when we're so stuck on that phrase, the cost per square foot. I mean, if nothing else, how do we just shift and stop talking about the cost per square foot and start talking about the value of a well-designed, well-engineered, durable, resilient, healthy building? When do we start talking about what that's worth to its occupants? And dare I try to connect the dots between the health of the occupants and the burden on the healthcare system? But essentially,
dare you? Give it a try.
How do we talk more value and less about dollars and cents? Because
for sure.
No other industry does that.
They do not. They do not. Dr. Brett Musson. How is it that way?
Oh my God.
Love it. Hey, doctor, I just was talking about you the other day and I told somebody to reach out to you. I hope they did. Doing something very similar and writing a paper, which I think is really cool. And we got Andrew Seeley. Well said, Jennifer. Big opportunity for real value to be a big slice of modern construction. Indoor air quality is getting its place in design. And it truly is. And talking about that, moving into our next segment. Listen, here's a whole 2,000 plus acre community we're going to talk about. And we're really going to get in detail on Wednesday with it.
Yeah. Before you go into
I knew it. I was trying to move on.
Make a point. I know, but I do want to make a point, because we have a lot of people who watch the show and have been introduced to the show. And Andrew, it's always great to get your encouragement. But Sicilian Partners, John Sicilian and his team over there, Deborah on their team, recently published a poll of what real estate agents think is important right now when selling your home.
That's right.
So what are the top 12 things or 15 things that are the most important when selling your home? And invariably, all except for one realtor or one person in the poll, everybody talked about declutter your home, paint the walls, make sure the windows are clean. But only one out of the group said, make sure you showcase the value of indoor air quality of your home to the new occupants. And of course, that came from Sicilian Partners. So it's a real tangible thing. We just need more people to wrap their heads around it.
Yeah, it is a very tangible thing. And if you don't know John Sicilian and Sicilian Partners, check them out. They're doing amazing things. And they are bringing technology and all their experience from retail into the construction space where they believe, and this isn't a promo ad, I just believe in what they do. They believe in the customer giving the customer experience. No different than Adidas in the clothing industry and other industries. Let's treat customers as repeat business in the future of our business. And they believe in that.
Yeah. So that's a great segue, actually, from that client experience into the future of home delivery. And we're so excited. This is, we're not going to spill all the beans, but this is a little bit of a
spilling some of them
as to Wednesday's product spotlight.
Yeah, so Wednesday's product spotlight, we, as everybody knows, we were recently out in Texas at Whisper Valley, right? So we're going to have Douglas Gilliland on from Taurus Investment, right? And we're also going to have John Tao on from Eco Smart Solution.
Yeah.
What is the value of all this, Jen? I mean, I know the value, but you just have such a good way of articulating it.
Well, I don't know about that, but if you haven't seen or heard anything of Whisper Valley, they are based in Austin, Texas. It's a 2,000
plus square foot acre community,
master planned community, award-winning master planned community. They won Green Home Builder Sustainable Innovation Awards, Best Sustainable Project in the U.S. Essentially, they are bringing together the pillars of sustainability, technology, healthy living, and affordability.
Yeah, they really are. And so, I mean, get this, 2,000 acres. I believe 900 and some of it's going to be green space, so to speak, hiking and what have you. It's also an agricultural community. There is going to be, and I got to look at my notes on this, but I think it's going to be 4,500 single family homes, 4,500 single family, 3,000 multifamily residences. And with that said, they are all net zero capable.
So how, Dave, how do you build that many homes on 2,000 acres, net zero capable, that are affordable?
I'm glad you asked me that. So listen, it takes planning. It takes thoughtful planning up front. It takes working with the technology partners up front. There's Google Fiber in this community as well. And it takes really, really good builds, right? Like building with a design that is better than what we do today. Thinking about the structure, thinking about the sun, thinking about the window placement. All of these things bring a lot of value. And also, not only are they energy zero capable, they are also healthy homes.
So in that formula, here it comes. My question.
I know, you're going to ask me what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Well, did they achieve all of this because they built it better? Like, did they build a better product?
So yes. So here's the deal. Is it a better? So these are still affordable. This is in the 250 to 500,000 range. It's even less than the 500, but I throw that out there because I think there are some, depending on the options you want, right? This whole planned community, it is built better. Instead of thinking about geothermal and solar power afterwards, they designed it with the developer upfront, right? So we're not going to go into that. We're going to let Douglas and John Tao tell you all of this, but it's all in the planning. It's all in the design up front. And then when it came down to the construction, they were using just smarter construction techniques. And all of this, it translates to a better build. Come on now, you're going to build a home that is so energy tight that it's net zero capable. And here's the thing. A lot of people don't understand, or they think they understand what net zero capable is. Do you know what net zero capable is?
Help us understand.
Net zero capable. These homes are all net zero homes. However, if you live in the home in Texas and Austin in this instance, and you leave your windows open and run your air conditioning when it's 110 degrees out, you're getting an energy bill. Simple as that. However, if you live smart, that's not going to happen. You can control that. These homes are smart technology with the apps. And here's the beauty of a community like this. And we talk about culture. They're changing the culture within the community because people sit there and they'll go to their neighbor, man, I had a $20 electric bill. Why? Oh, I didn't. I actually got a credit back on my electric bill. All of a sudden, people are talking. Now, imagine raising your kids in an environment like this, where they start paying attention to the adults talking about saving money, saving energy, sustainability, healthy living. And to boot, you can walk down to the community center and get fresh vegetables every day.
I know, it is
from the property.
Amazing. From the community amenities to the way the homes are designed and built. This community is attracting people from around the world.
It is.
This is not people who live in the neighborhood who are saying, oh, there's a new home for sale. Let me move into this neighborhood. It's people who are intentionally looking for communities like this one and picking up their lives and moving there. It's an unbelievable story. And I love the new term that they were talking about is it's a community of sustainable activists. So every generation has their thing, right? You
They
know, and I don't know about you, but if I hear our kids say the word boomer one more time, I mean, really. But sustainable activists is this new generation of people who are bringing up their own children to not use single-use water bottles, to really care about their energy bill. I mean, this is the climate and the culture that their children are growing up in. So our world has to meet them. We need to change to meet their needs if we want to be here tomorrow, serving the client of tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. And just so everybody knows, right now in the chat, I'm putting the link to the calendar invite for this. So if you want to join, I just uploaded it in the chat, and I will go back also because I don't think the chat feeds to LinkedIn. I think we can only see what's happening on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. So let me put it in the LinkedIn feed as well for everybody, and that way you have it. Awesome. Yeah. So getting back to it, Jennifer, I think, Wednesday is going to be a really, really intense conversation. And when I say intense, we already have, I think 100 people signed up for this event. And we're planning probably to double that by Wednesday. So please like and share it. We definitely want to talk more about this because there's not a whole lot of developers out there at this scale doing sustainability, energy efficiency at an affordable price. And that's what you're going to learn about how to do. So if you're interested in doing it, whether you like planned communities or not, whether you like big development or not, at least in my opinion on this, and I know them because I was out there, they really have the consumer and the earth in mind when they did this. And it's an incredible thing. And there's a lot of hurdles to get over when that's the case.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I mean, this is brought to you by, this is the 2020 Housing Innovation Alliance Keynote Summit, which typically is a paid for event. But what the Alliance is doing is taking their think tanks, taking their road trip, taking everything they learned from talking to all of these industry experts, and showcasing the how, the why, the behind the scenes of Whisper Valley. So a big thanks goes to the Housing Innovation Alliance for making this information accessible. Right now, there's no shortage of content. There's no shortage of information. And Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern is a terrific example of how the Housing Innovation Alliance is bringing this to the global community, showcasing the who, what, where, and why of Whisper Valley. It's amazing.
Look, Jennifer, let's give them a shout out. Hopefully I spelled it right. Nobody beats me up. Thank you, Housing Innovation Alliance. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, they're always following innovation. They're always following the trends. They're always trying to look at the future and what's happening. If you're not a member of the Housing Innovation Alliance, you should be. And no, this is not paid sponsorships or promos. They're just doing the right thing.
Yeah. And it's a way to get your voice heard, right?
Yeah,
it's
is.
A way to get your or address what you think are the biggest challenges in the industry. So that's Wednesday. Do we want to talk about next week?
Well, we do. Let's get to some comments real quick. Listen, everybody. So the next segment of today's episode is going to be about next week, where we talk about Modernize or Die. And this is written by Mark Farmer, and it has been adopted, within England, UK, whatever. I don't know. Is it England, UK? Is it? Somebody help me out. I just want to say it right.
This isn't a show about geography or spelling, thankfully.
So, right. Yeah. So just hang tight. Let's get through a couple more comments, people that are tuning in as we go through. So let me scroll down here. All right. So Art actually made a comment. Hey, I'm glad, Art, man. I haven't seen Art join the show, in a while. So it's good to see you, Art. Really, really do. Thanks for the shout out for the IWBC 2020 virtual. We have a fantastic lineup of speakers on all aspects of integrated offsite construction. Lead off keynote is from Gernot Strube, senior partner, McKinsey. Wow, that's cool. Isn't that it's for the report? I'm trying to think. The offsite, right. Mm-hmm. So look forward to hearing more on that. The title of his presentation, Predicting the Next Tectonic Shift, Disruptive Changes in Construction. All right, I think this is great. So everybody knows I was fortunate enough to go to the IWBC last year in Boston. And I have to tell you, it was a fabulous show. I mean, the presenters that were there were all top notch. Mm-hmm. And Art doesn't pay me to say any of this stuff. It's just, we are promoting people that are doing the right things in our industry. So with that said, listen, if you're not signed up for it, Art, if you put a link, did he put a link in there? Art, put a link in there, and then I'll also put it up on the screen if you're still listening for the IWBC. It's a must-attend event. So I'll definitely help you push that out. So
yeah, and now that it's a virtual event, again, it's a way
Everybody can
that it's a way that we're bringing this network together. And art brings a lot of really smart people to the forefront, and I can't wait to hear about the tectonic shift in construction.
the tectonic shift. Say that 5 times. Yes. So, all right. With that said, I mean, even with the International Builders Show is now virtual this year. So, with all that, and it's fun. I mean, we have a lot coming up with doing these virtual events as well. So, love it, love it, love it. So put that in there, Art. We'll put it out. There it is. All right. IWBCC. Is it IWBCC.com? All right. So listen, go there and register. So, all right, moving on. So we have Tom Reddy making a comment. Education of all involved. Planning through consumers is a critical step.
So this is kind of jumping ahead a little bit.
It is jumping ahead.
What is going to drive the change? Is it creating demand? Is it the clients who are going to demand the change because it's a better way to build, and the builders will follow the client? Is it a regulatory change? Does government have to get involved and, force builders to build X percentage of new construction using modern methods of construction or industrialized construction? Is there a regulatory element of it? Who is going to drive the change? Who is going to bring the industry together? And I think these are some of the questions that we're going to be asking Mark Farmer.
They definitely are questions we're going to be asking Mark, and how they're doing it. Not only are they doing it in his own country, but he's actually consulting other countries around the world right now on this same process and how it was all adopted. And again, it wasn't a forced government mandated adoption, as we heard. Am I losing my mind here? And Andrew Carpenter say. So with that said, this is a really, really important presentation that we're going to have on the show. And we're hopeful that, some of the higher players in Washington, D.C. will be joining this show, not live, maybe live, but they'll be tuned into the show because we've been putting the word out on this one that we all need to take a look at and listen to what is happening.
Yeah, and again, between Andrew and Mark, some of the things that we're talking about as well, which is something we talk about on BS Friday all the time, is building above code. Because when you are building offsite, when you're using modern methods of construction, it is hard to figure out who has, especially in Europe, where it's made up of all of these different nations, who has what code. Even here in the States, every 50 miles it changes. So when you build to that higher level of code, when you use that level of standardization, which can be done in offsite construction very easily, everybody wins.
They do. Jen, I have to apologize. I jumped over a couple people here. So can we go back and make sure we give them credit? So we have Edith. Hey, Edith, how are you today? I hope all is well. Hi, Jennifer and Dave. This is a great conversation. The modular design can have so many advantages over site built. I was wondering if there are better ways for the modular industry to connect with home buyers, perhaps earlier in the home buying process, perhaps via different mediums, education. Love the show. All right. So Edith. So it's funny. This is kind of leads into I do a keynote, typically at Tech Bites at the International Builders Show every year. I'm not sure how that's working this year, but that's how we got into all of this, right? We started. I don't know if maybe people are too old, too young for Bob Vila, right? But we started being kind of the Bob Vila, this old house type episodes of On Location. But I think us pulling together as an industry is the key to this. What do you think?
Yeah, so I think it is such a great question, and it goes back to how do we create that demand? How do we educate the consumers so that they are informed, they are truly understanding what modular volumetric construction means? Because so many people are confused. Number one, what that even means. So in terms of how we connect with home buyers, like the actual clients, the occupants of the homes that we're building, number one, use this as a resource. We have a YouTube channel full of snippets
information,
and conversations, really exploring the value of offsite construction, specifically modular construction. So YouTube, Dave Cooper Live.
On Dave Cooper Live, we actually have consumers reaching out to us a lot. I mean, it's a lot, and it's wonderful. That's what it's all about. And I think, getting the word out there, talking to consumers in a language that they understand. We're not going to change, in my opinion, again, whether we call it offsite, volumetric, manufactured housing, the terms are what they are. But we can change the education. We can change being on location and showcasing our products. That's how we got into all of this, showcasing our products. I was just pulling out my phone, walking around doing Facebook Lives. Honestly, that's what we were doing. But I think people have to understand what it is. And we don't do a good job of telling what it is. We're really good at talking amongst ourselves. But we do need to find better ways to get to the consumer.
We do. And this goes back to the value conversation over cost per square foot, because the way that we build modular construction is a technique. It's a method of construction. Yeah. But what value does that offer? It leads to a tighter building envelope, which can lead to improved indoor air quality, which can lead to lower operating costs. So and it's faster once you're on site. We always talk about it, faster to equity for the homeowner or the investment bankers. Right. Talk about the value, connect with the home buyers, talk about the value. And there are people out there doing it. There are resources like
MHBA and the Building Systems Council. But even then, I don't really think we're always talking to the consumer in a better way. But there's Facebook groups out there that have thousands of followers on them now in this space. But it's a great question, and it's definitely a tough question, Edith, because until there's more public awareness, until more of the community in the construction world clamps on to offsite construction, we're never going to get that far reach of bringing people into this space until we have more players on a larger scale with bigger marketing budgets that can really hit that market on a global scale. Now, with that said, Jennifer, back to what I was saying about IBS. We all have the power right here, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, social media, to talk about how, what we're doing out here, the great products we're building, the things that are happening. It doesn't just have to come through davecooper.live. Go out and showcase what you're doing, put it out there, because that's how it's going to groundswell and grow for now. And I think that's the best thing to do. And don't care what people say on your YouTubes, because you'll have everybody. You'll have house wrap specialists and so forth give you a hard time. I used to love those guys.
Yeah. But seriously, tune into Tuesday's show for Building Modular, and we can address this topic to really great degree. So thank you for tuning in today. That was awesome.
That's my cue to move on, Edith. I got it. I love this. That's a passion of mine. Edith, send me a message offline. We'll talk further on that, because I do love it. All right, moving forward, and then we're going to get back to the last part of our episode. Jennifer, it's been 50 minutes already.
So Mark Farmer, Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern, coming to us from the UK. He's been here. He's working with universities, has worked with universities here, Stanford, just to name one of them. But essentially, he's been in this industry for 20 something years, I think 25 or 26 years.
You believe
has his own consulting firm, and also recently published Build Homes, Build Jobs, Build Innovation, a blueprint for a housing-led industrial strategy. When we're talking about how housing can lead us out of this economic downturn or murky economic situation that we're in, this is a chance for that disruption that Art was speaking of. This is a chance for reinvention. This is a chance for the new folks to come in and really make a change.
It truly is. Mark, I've had the privilege of speaking to him on the phone, and a super smart individual. He's having global conversations, not just local municipality conversations, right? And so I think you're going to learn a lot when we have Mark Farmer on next week, and I think we're going to learn a lot on how the construction industry adopted this modernize or die. And the challenges that came with it, and we're going to talk about those challenges. But we're also going to have hit on his new stuff as well, right? Mm-hmm. So, Build Homes, Build Jobs, Build Innovation, a blueprint. So, which I think is great to speak. All right, Jennifer, what else do we have? We have who else is making big changes on this? And then are we going to give our 2 cents? Or have we been given our 2 cents?
There's been no shortage of 2 cents today, but either way, what we're trying to say here is, how is construction technology changing the way that we build? How is technology coming to our space? Who are those players, and what is going on? simple solutions. We had HomeZada on last week with Elizabeth Dodson, who was talking about an app that homeowners can use to help manage their home and optimize, the maintenance of the home, because it is a lot for people who haven't done it before.
It is. And right now, I mean, there's another company that's doing something very similar, but they're taking it all the way from the design. Joel, if you're listening, this will interest you when we get to this next show, not today. But they're doing something very similar where they're taking the experience from design through DFMA, right, all the way to the consumer experience with an app like HomeZada.
Right. It's very specific, and it is, to optimize the operation of your building, and, the whole, oh my gosh, tongue tied for a minute, but in terms of decarbonization and
reducing the carbon footprint.
Yes, and reduce load.
I have something on here that says this, Jen. It'll help you along.
Thank you. But we're talking about companies that are, thank you, there we go, raising millions of dollars, not $1 million, not $2 million, but significant millions of dollars to address housing innovation and housing technology, and offering end-to-end solutions for people, like-minded individuals. So it is happening out there on small scale and big scale.
Yeah.
And that's what we're calling for. That is what we're calling for. We want to showcase these stories. We want to bring this to the forefront and really bring the worlds together, because even though so much of what we do from a construction standpoint relies, on the regional and local situation, we're solving for a global problem.
We are solving for a global problem, and it's going to be one building, one house, one development at a time. But it all starts, somehow. And so I think it's great being able to showcase everybody, and some of you in the audience we've had on the show showcasing what you guys are doing as well. Absolutely amazing. So we're in this for a while. We actually got a lot of people still watching. This is amazing. So thank you. First of all, please hit that like and share button. And if you're not a subscriber, because I have to do it, this is how we stay afloat. Right. So subscribing to our YouTube channel is a really big deal for us as we get our subscriptions up. Jennifer and I are, we do this full time. So your support on all this stuff is, it's a blessing to us. We love it. Yeah. So we love that. And all right, Jennifer, where are we going? I see the comments thing is lighting up. All right, let's get to some more comments, and then we're going to end with Stone Pile Construction College.
Yes.
Stone Pile Construction College. Since we have so many people listening, hear me now. I'm going to do this now before we do that, and I'm going to put it up. I'm going to put it up in the chat too. Stone Pile Construction College. You do not need your test scores, SATs. You do not need any of this. You can get an associate's, you can get a master's, and you can get a bachelor's, and you get a master's degree. It's teaching people in the construction industry the way they should be taught in their minds, right? A lot of people go to the trades because school's hard for them, but not in this instance. So, Gary Vermas and Jody Vermas, have started this construction college called Stone Pile Construction College. And all you have to do is have a high school diploma and please use our link, a high school diploma, as well as just write a paper on why you want to go to this school. Why do you want to learn about offsite construction? They are changing the way that they teach and what they build. It's online. It's open to the global community. So if you know kids that aren't cut out to go to college in their mind, this is an alternative for them to bring them in, give other people an opportunity. And if you're an old dog like myself, come on, I would love to go to this school and get a master's degree in some of this stuff.
Well, what's great about Stone Pile Construction College is that they have a roadmap for its students. Number one, there's, the cost of entry is very low.
Yes.
Number two, they encourage, in fact, they require that you work in the field, while you are in school. So you're earning money as you're learning on the job training. Their goal is to get these graduates out of school, get them a global network of people who are actually doing this in their field, and get them a job. So not only are they disrupting the construction industry in terms of training this new class of leaders, they're disrupting higher ed.
Oh, in a big way, yeah.
They're doing all the things that, universities say they can do. But now Stone Pile is really putting that making that really happen. And with all the schools going to distance learning now anyway,
Right.
online colleges are just taking off, and they are designed to do this.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, design. I mean, think about that. Higher education is not going to like this, and nor do they care. They don't. That's not what they're here for. They're here to help find a way to bring more trades into our industry and teach them about offsite construction, and teach people the way they wanted to be taught when they were going through school. And quite honestly, even for myself. So listen, we put the links in there. It's really important that you guys use the URL if you're sharing this, that we have in there, stonepile.us /DCL. It lets them know that, as we're stumping for them out here, it's like the campaign trail. Because we're big believers in this, and we want it to grow with them, and we want to grow with Stone Pile Construction College being one of the first of its kind. Please copy that URL and share it with everybody. Share it with you. Share it with your high schools, churches, whatever you feel is fit. Okay.
Are you done there?
I'm done. Let's go. Let's talk to people now, because that's what I'm better talking. All right. Joel, of course we're talking about you, Joel. Always talking about you. All right, moving on. Brett Musson, I believe it's more important to speak to the money than to the consumer. Now, all right, there's two thoughts on that, Brent, because if I'm understanding this right, I will take the pharmaceutical company as an example, because the pharmaceutical company does not market necessarily to the doctors. They market to the consumer, so the consumer asks for something better. Now, in a big development world, I would agree with that for sure. You got to talk to them about their pockets, because if you can't show the ROI, that's not going to happen.
Well, it's interesting too, when you say that, Brent, because it's, when you say speak to the money, that means a couple of different things. That means to the money that the consumer is going to spend, or it means the investors, right? The money who are bankrolling everything. And I'll take this to the smallest level. We have bankers that we've worked with in the past. And again, this is on a single family case-by-case basis, who all day long would steer all of their clients into offsite construction because it's a more predictable process for the investor. So going back to that point earlier about how do you get the message out to consumers, we went down the road of talking to real estate agents thinking that was the way to go.
Years ago, yeah.
But what we discovered was no, talk to the mortgage people, talk to the lenders. Tom Coronado we had on here really talking about the value of investing in offsite construction. You're faster to equity, you're de-risking the project.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, so yeah, if you look at it in that light, I agree, Jennifer, because these are the people that homeowners go to say, hey, listen, I'm looking to build something. Sometimes they start before they start designing something. And if the manufacturer, or if the brokers or the mortgage lenders are familiar with the process and they believe in it, then they say, hey, have you looked at this? Because it's a much more secure process for the banks and investors.
Yeah.
Especially if they're working with a reputable factory. For sure. All right, Brent, go ahead. Light me up in the comments below. I'm ready for you, man. All right. And hey, Anthony says over 100 people registered for Wednesday. Love it, love it, love it. I put the link in there for Wednesday's show. Please join us. We're going to talk all about Whisper Valley. All right. So, Brent, private equity that squeezes the trigger on development. Okay. Yeah. So probably should have read that first. So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and there are plenty of investors out there, even Margaret Whelan, for example, when you think about private capital, you think about private equity, even the people that we're talking to, they are definitely interested in offsite construction. They're sold.
They are sold.
But we need more people like that.
Yeah, and Margaret just wrote a white paper, or I saw something on LinkedIn, and she was talking about where she thinks the industry is going. So check it out. Definitely from what I read in the short, I didn't read the whole thing yet, but it looks like housing's going to stay fairly strong, but the rent to own market is where it's at. Is where it's at still. Joel Hutchins, of course, we're talking about you. We're always talking about you, Joel.
Right. Well, I think he was.
I know what he's talking about.
I know, but yes, even again, talking about open source information. Joel, you're always leading the way when it comes to computational design, and that also is the tip of the spear. How do you resolve conflicts before you get to the construction site? I mean, that has a lot to do with how further adoption of offsite construction can definitely happen. Because when you think about, even with us, we get a set of blueprints and there's so much detail on there. but think about all the detail that's not on there. And we're so excited to see what Joel does with that.
Oh, love it. Love it. All right. So Anthony says, Dave, Cooper, Jennifer, thank you for another great show on modular, offsite, and industrialized construction, the most consistent in the industry. Thank you, Anthony. We're working hard to try and be here 6 days a week. So, and we're happy that you show up and join us all the time. Love it. Where can I find Margaret Whelan's white paper? I bet if you go to her LinkedIn page.
Yeah, we'll share it.
We'll share it in the comments. I don't have to put it up right now,
Yeah.
but I do like to put it up. All right. Jen, I think that's it. I think people might, if you're tired of hearing of us, give us a thumbs up. That's a good way to get them to hit that like button. If you're tired of hearing about it from us, smash that like button. We'll call it quits right here and now. We are going to call it quits here and now, though, right?
Yeah, we are. So again, how do we encourage further adoption of modern methods of construction? How do we get new entrants to really share their story and spotlight their success and their challenges? Would love to hear where they're bumping into some challenges so that we can all help them along because we all win. How can we do a better job of building high performance homes? Look at the
like buttons going.
Oh, goodness. There we go. That indoor air quality is still such a hot topic, and we're firm believers that innovation in construction, modern methods of construction, tighter building envelopes, lower operating costs, better indoor air quality, that's what we're looking for here. So if you know anybody who fits that formula, who thinks that their story should be shared, let's hear it. Yeah,
let's definitely hear it. And just so everybody knows, we are getting ready to, hopefully in the next 6 months, to move to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So if you're out there, we're considering building our own house. And I think it's kind of fun. I want to put it out there because we will live stream from it. And we are, if we do this, I'm not committed yet. But we're gonna practice all the things that we preach, and we're gonna stream it live every day while we do it. Give or take. All right. Very good.
Plans.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate all your support. And listen, let's keep the conversation rolling. And Art, Shman, I'm so happy to see you today. That was great having you tune in. Jennifer, the brains of the operation, clearly. All right. Thank you. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye now.